What is good, everybody? How's everything? How's everything? Everything's good? All right. All right. All right. As you know, this is... Let me do this. This is Zero Ends here. And welcome to another reading of a very lengthy series, as no title. The Book of Endz, Volume 1, Strong Black Woman and Mental Illness, Part 2, Section 4. As you know, I am here. I'm your lovely, or you're actually your co-host, or your one and only Zero Ends. As you know, this is more of a educational channel per se, dealing with various books, newspapers, maybe articles, or lengthy PDFs, whatever you want to call this stuff. But nonetheless, this is mostly a channel that's going to deal more with the information piece. I will give you my insight and my take of some of the information to the best of my ability. But mostly, this is something that people can learn from. So this is the premise of the channel. And the purpose of, most of what we will be covered on this channel. And the focus. I'm just looking at some things right now. Okay, I'm just checking some things right now. I'm gonna check here. Okay, so look like everything is running smooth. One more thing, and then we will begin. All right, let's begin. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so let me find the PDF. And let me check everything. Oh, and then one more link. Oh, I cannot forget this. I can't forget this. Okay, today we'll cover a few pages here. Let me see how lengthy this is. Scrolling down. This is going to be a short read. All right. As I begin, we're going to look at the health beliefs in regards to dealing with Black women. Make sure you take notes on this. Anyway. Okay, health beliefs. Black and Peacock, 2011, speculates that one of the possible factors in racial disparities in health and well-being between Black women and white women, with Black women reporting disproportionately greater rates of chronic illness and secondary health problems, may be the result of daily life management approaches that they describe as representing a strong Black woman script. This is page 144. To consider ways in which this script plays out in publications and online sources targeting Black women, and to attempt to access the impact this script had on their health and well-being determination. Blacks and Peacock received 20 magazine articles and 10 blogs utilizing the phrase strong Black woman. And that's with quotations. And the magazine articles were published between 1996 and 2006. That is an span of 10 years, mind you. 1996, now we're in 2020, so that's 24 years ago. And around 2006, 14 years ago. And the blogs were selected based on certain criteria designed to assure a degree of blog visibility. After importing content from the 20 articles and the 10 blogs select into the Atlas T 5.5.9 software, the research identified such themes as role management, coping, and self-care, and direct the software to identify relationships to these themes. Across articles, one of the interesting observations was that the strong Black woman script was supported by 60% of the magazine articles. That is astonishing. That is just ridiculous. 60%. This is during a period of over a decade ago, maybe two and a half, or half a decade ago. Magazine articles. Do you know how much that has shown in regards how much the feminist was pushed in creating a lie for a lot of Black women here in the West, which eventually spreads out from not only America but globally now in regards strong Black womanhood and feminism, which is all one and the same. A majority, but not a sustainable one, particularly gives the fairly traditional perspective that dedicates most mainstream magazine publications. More pronounced was the finding that 7% of the blogs were critically of the strong Black woman image and message. In these cases, a rejection of the strong Black woman model, Black and Peacock, 2011, identifying strains of exhaustion expressed with the notion and the language of recovery associated with rejecting the strong Black woman construct. Even more striking was the find that while this resistance was referenced in piece dealing with intimate partner and or parenting relationships, the greatest number of articles challenges the strong Black woman construct, specifically addressing issues of physical health and mental well-being. Blacks and Peacock 2011 also identifies links between self-silencing behaviors, one of those thoughts to contribute the compulsive binge eating heritage of 2010, and the strong Black woman image, coping was described as keeping on a game face and maintaining a mask from the strong black woman perspective, and there was widespread distress over the notion that blacks women should have to hide their suffering in order to provide care or reassurance to others. Relating to this were the report of low self-care associated with strong black woman behavior. Some note that it was not just a matter of self-sacrifice, it was often a matter of self-neglect, which some of the writers, the research survey ties directly to depression or suicide to their community of black female. Others readily identify extreme fatigue and overeating behaviors as symptomatic of the health downside of the strong black woman image. Bill LaFonte, 2008, interviewed 58 black women to identify themes in their coping strategies. Though these subjects respond, she identified accommodation, mute critique, acknowledge vulnerability as common aspects of these women's experience. Many women voice experience with depressive features. However, the research report that discuss depression is muted or silenced. As she note, depression directly challenging the tent of strength, the bedrock of black women identified, page 401. She also posted that this comment to appearance strong and masculine through what they call adversity made complicated black women ability to even recognize, acknowledge their depression. The depressed black woman interviewed by Nicoladas at 2010 echoes this difficult reporting that the strong black woman graph had hampered their abilities to recognize their own depression and inhibit their receive support from others in their community for either recognizing their depression or their efforts to find treatment for it. One woman, quote, by the research poignantly captures the struggle and the pain of this, stating, the eternalize the message that somebody worse off than we are. So we just got to deal. So that where the mask came in. I'm a strong black woman. So I got to be strong, and inside you're breaking down. Nicolaus, etc. 2010, page 1473. Murray, in 2003, linked the efforts of fulfilling the role of the strong black woman and contributing the powerful or the poor self-help maintenance and black woman with diabetes. They contend that the strong black woman regards herself as both a caregiver for her family and her community, and is also expected to be self-sacrificing in order to live out that powerful, matriarchal function. The author describes how black women with diabetes, for example, may experience role conflict between her image and her strong black woman self, and a woman with chronic illness that requires specific attention and care. Prioritizing her family need, their food preference, and their notions of family, food sharing, and collaboration may take preceding. Over here, understand that she needs to take care of herself. A 2010 documentary film about unhealthy food consumption, Chow Down, featured just such a woman, Garnet Hall, an engaging black woman in her early 50s, had been diagnosed at the age of 45 with type 2 diabetes that quickly escalated to produce complication because, by her own admission, she had failed to observe her medication regimen. Now, mind you, out of all things that kill black people in this country, just a pause, no, is if you know, cancer's the top, if my memory, and others I think leads to other crime like heart disease and diabetes is one of them. So these are the few three stages of many that cause death to black people. Not only men, but also women. This complication results in her doctor putting her on low-fat plant diets, a fairly extreme nutrition plan designed to reduce the morbidity and mortality risk. The film shows Hall with her warm and likable family, a husband and two teenagers, one son, one daughter, all whom appear to be overweight. Jesus Christ. Damn. At the outset of Hall's diet, her family commits to supporting her, saying they will all follow her eating plans. The documentary reveals how one of the first meals she produced for her family, in which they all sit down to eat together at the dining room table, prompt her teenage son to head to the kitchen. After a hearty attempt to eat the labor-extensively vegetable-based meal Hall had prepared, and to return from the kitchen with a microwave burrito, which he then eats in front of his mother, father, and sister. Shortly after, his sister does the same thing. This is what happens when you're not strict with your diet. And we all know, and I says once, majority of black people in this country should take their health a little bit more seriously. And the only way you're going to do that as a black person, especially a woman, you might have to take certain supplements to reduce cravings. Because one of the few things when you have sugar problems, you are going to be constantly active with sugar. One good thing to use is probably some dip. Take a teaspoon of honey with cinnamon, and you gulp that down, and you won't feel the urge to be so much that you need something to eat. Because you got to control the sugar craving urge. That's one suggestion. You can Google for more other suggestions to control your sugar. The film charts how Hall family, all the while living funny and expressing concerns for Hall's health, abandoning the diet. Hall initially takes a stand and leaves them to engage in their own food preparation, while she continues the time-consuming work of preparing her diet meal. However, within a matter of days, Hall is preparing two sets of meals, one for her family and one for herself. And within just weeks, Hall abandoned the diet, saying there were too many obstacles to her following it and that she would attempt it again down the road. False. And the reason why I tell you false, I want y'all to hear me good and hear me clear, ladies. Once you stop doing certain things that you were in a regimen or something that you're trying to set a goal, it's not something you can just put that and you're going to pick up later. No, you have to be consistent if you want to get the results you need in regards to not only lose weight, but reducing your sugar. Type 2 is one of them dangerous indicates that you are in a danger zone. And to get it back from type 2 to type 1 and no sugar, your diet has to be firmly strict, and you have to be on it as hard and go hard as possible. The minute you start lacking or you take a break for a reason, what will happen? And I'm going to tell you personally, you will gain weight. And not only you gain weight, depending on your age, you'll gain weight much faster, and you'll go back and your disease that you already accumulate over the years of bad choices will catch up on you, which it could potentially take your life. Let's continue. Despite having experienced extreme issues related to her diabetes, and despite Hall's clear intention at the outset to remain on the challenging diet to help her negotiate her illness, Hall's role as a strong black woman held with sway. She would sacrifice herself before she would sacrifice the need or desire of her family. The film maintains a light tone, and there is no sense of combination towards either Hall or her family. And Hall appears to express little of herself. She merely is resigned to the situation, only once display a measure of dismay that she quickly expressed or suppressed that her family had promised to support her and then was not there for her when she most needed their help. Hall's story presents a stark, real life example of how the strong black woman image, and how the stress identifies by Murray, and this is back in 2003, and others, LaFonte, 2005, 2008, and 2009. Harrington from 2010 can come into direct conflict with the black woman's ability to adequately take care of her own health. Mental health and depression. Romero 2000 identifies the identity of the SBW as a paradox and embrace of an image intended to forfeit against the onset of the dual expression or oppression of racism and sexism that prevent black women from acknowledging their need and vulnerability. That's page 225. Consequently, she observes many black women who have been accumulating or acculturating with the strong black woman identity often present with manifestation of emotional and psychological disorders such as eating and sleeping disorder, depression, and anxiety. This notion of being strong and not invents any weakness which others could take advantage of has shaped the development of many black women by maintaining themselves in the face of societal neglect, not expecting others to take care of or provide for them, and understanding the function of caretakers in their community as largely fallen to them creates a expectation that the strong black woman will always be in control. Thus, crying is a behavior that is regarded with suspicion or contempt. And Ramiro observed that even the language black women use to describe the act breaking down and falling apart are not employed for what are called melodramatic effects, but because the ideal of a black woman crying in front of others, aside from the most immediate family of friends, is so rare that when it occurs, it is understood to be example of the black woman losing her sense of self and her powers. She is thus breaking down her strong black woman identity through the basic act of crying. Ramiro content. You know, you see a lot of black women cry for every little thing. If y'all didn't notice that. Examination of the problem of mental illness in America, black population is only now beginning to receive the type of research attention and the statistical demand. Ward from 2009 referenced studies showing that approximately a quarter of the nation black population has been diagnosed with mental illness. And I think that has grown for the last 11 years now. The rates among black women are disproportionately higher than they are for men. Interesting. I'm worried that's why they hold on to their black boys the way they do now. I digress. One astonishing statistic was provided by the 2003 California Black Women Health Project through a national survey the organization conducted. It shows that 6% of black women exhibit clinical symptoms of depression. Ward, despite the prevalence Black women are much less likely than white women to access mental health service. Wow. Given the degree of which the strong black woman needs to retain the appearance of control, Ramiro, 2000, states she can present a serious challenge in a situation where therapeutic intervention is indicated. The mental health issue of the strong black woman may be difficult to identify because of typical strong black woman is masterful at making or masking her feelings and needs. Among the feeling upon or often suppressed by the strong black woman are pain, shame, pride, fear, anger, and loneliness. So let me read that again. Among the feeling often suppressed by a strong black woman are pain, shame, pride, fear, anger, and loneliness. And if you never noticed with a lot of these women that are strong, black women, even go as far as independent, a lot of these women, if y'all didn't know, are very much overweight. So keep that in mind. When negative feelings like this are consistent, buried, and not given legitimate express, they will curl and turn on the person suppressing them, often manifesting in physical symptoms or psychological conditions that may further obscure the cause and effect nature of what happens for the individual. The evidence suggests that women who attempt to live by what they perceive as strong black women dictates are particularly vulnerable to a range of issues that troubling their very embrace of the identity hinder them from seeking help to address by Lafonte, 2009, Wyatt, 2008, quotes one writer of on a strong black womanhood who observes that if she slips and begins to tell friends and families how bad she actually felt, it seems like I could barely get the words out before somebody reminds me I was a strong black woman. And that is some big capital letter words, my people. Not in regular sentence words. It says all caps, strong black woman. And if you have to be reminded you're strong black, that tells you the agenda. And much no other race or group of women call so strong. So the consultation of health issues that can emerge on the result of the belief system are potentially serious and may be difficult to address at their root. Given the strong black woman innate resistance to exposure and assistance seeking behavior. From the strong black woman perspective, depression in the providing of white women a luxury that black women can't afford because no one else will take care of them. The belief is also a reflection of the eternalization of binary gender construct. Of weak black males, strong black women are powerful. White males, submissive white females. That's by Wyatt, 2008. Carol Gilligan, Seminole, 1982, works in a different voice describe the emotional and psychological development of young women in America. Society indicates that adolescent girls go through a process of losing confidence and sacrificing their authentic selves, resulting in low self-esteem in order to make themselves more acceptable to dominate culture message supporting the dominant gender binaries of strong males, weak females. One of the most interesting development arise from Gillian's study was research suggesting that African American girls and lesser degree white females from low socioeconomic backgrounds were much less inclined to lose their self-esteem, to give up their authentic voice in order to aspire to the dominant gender binary. Gillian and others had interpreted this finding as evidence of these outer girls' awareness that they were likely to benefit from dominant culture imperative, regardless of whether they embrace or reject them. Thus, there was no advantage to them giving up their sense of self in order to accord with some idealized sense of femininity that might bring societal rewards. What would bring about rewards for young black women would be conform to values or behaviors reinforced within the black community, and therefore the influence of the strong black woman and the emphasis on her legendary coping abilities would be more slanted to the experience of young black women. In fact, there is evidence to this and that black girls and women spur perceive weakness as a white female trait, bird of a sense of privilege, and therefore at odds with their self identity. And we'll stop there. The next section is going to be continue. We're going to continue off emotional overeating. But before we get into that, a few things I could say on this. Health and this myth of strong black women do come together. It's funny how women are doing, especially just doing this because they want to be perceived as quote unquote weak. But the problem is you are weak already because you're out of your natural element. And in the long run, because of how we are socialized in society, that not only you're going to continue to perceive yourself as strong and independent, but the consequence of that is you're going to have a rise of more mental illness, more you can produce more weaker children, particularly boys, and you're going to die alone with this. I know a few channels where a lot of women that were divorced by their husbands and they got health problems. And it was surprising because the way how they're thinking and how they view themselves. And be honest with you, the men, especially black men today, the average man is not going to accept that now. Hell, even the younger boys that are men now are not going to take on or deal with anybody that deals with a strong black narrative. So if you have not learned anything from that, I hope you know from what I've brought down, even into this particular section. The next section will be emotional overeating. And like always, if you're not really subscribed to this podcast or live stream, always subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment at the end of this video, and leave a like if you find the information is helpful. Zero Endz wants to hear from you, like always. But I'll end there. Be on lookout for the next stream. Until next time, take care.